it seemed to me that an entrepreneur is at least somebody who can see things that are possible that others can't see. And that in itself, I think, is a big gift. But it's no good seeing things that others can't see. I mean, there's a whole chattering class in this country, which is, it's a massive class, as you know. Sit and talk about these things all the time. The big difference is those who can see things that others can't see, but they can make it happen. They can actually turn it into reality. And I think that's the big difference. And I'm sure, and I think that's exactly where Endeavour has positioned itself, by the way. It's right at that very critical thing as to actually translating plans into action and making things happen.
Big dreams.
Yeah. And it's because that's the critical point. One of the things that makes sense to me is that you should be a maverick. Now, I can tell you, prior to 1994, mavericks were not tolerated. We were a highly uniform, militaristic society, actually, and you were pushed into a certain direction. And if you thought differently, you were ostracized, you were put in jail, a whole host of things were done to you. And thankfully, we've actually got out of that mindset. But there is a huge legacy of that still. Now, I would like to hear from some of you, but there is also a cultural legacy that we've got, and that is that there is a strong cultural component, and I'm a white semi-Afrikaner, and I see it in the Afrikaans community, and I'm certain that you see it in some of your communities, where the community does not like people to stick their neck out. They don't like people to be disruptive. They don't like people to do things which are not quite the thing to do, sort of thing. They're much more concerned about getting a consensus in the community and that type of thing. Well, I think that is contrary to entrepreneurship, and I would love to hear your views on that. I think it's problematic, and we have to create a situation which actually deals with that. I sometimes think that you've got to be stupid to be an entrepreneur, and you've got to believe in yourself to the extent that you are kind of stupid, because if you go and analyze a situation and you try and think what you can do or what could go wrong and that sort of thing. I mean, we, for example, took on the post office in 1994, when it was a very strong Afrikaner-dominated, massive monopoly who, the minute they were challenged, just couldn't believe the audacity of somebody doing this type of thing. Now, frankly, we were stupid to do that, because we didn't sit down and over-analyze the situation. We said, well, here's a gap. We think we can do this. We'll position ourselves over here. And we went for it. They took us to court. We didn't. That wasn't in our planning. But when it came, we made a plan. So what I think I'm saying is that certainly one of the criteria of those people who absolutely have to be an entrepreneur, there's no other way, is they must have a strong self-belief. Almost a pig-headedness, in the sense that as soon as people tell them it can't be done, they will say, no, I'm going to show you it can be done. And the more they get told they can't do it, the more they're actually pushed out to go and do it, basically. So I think that's certainly a characteristic. And I think, look, clearly you've got to have skill, you've got to understand what product and understand the market and what you do. But I think the other thing is you have to be quite persuasive. Because you have to get people to believe in you. You have to get people that are going to be employed by you, that you have to sell a vision to. You're going to try and get customers, and probably you might not have a product at this stage, and they've got to believe in you. So you've got to have a huge amount of persuasiveness. There's a whole host of other things, but I think those are probably the two that made sense to me to highlight at this stage. You've just got to do it. And sometimes, and I think that's one of the problems we might have in this country, and I think I picked it up from you as well, is that don't analyze and think too much, but analyze and think enough. Clearly, I mean, I'm not suggesting you're stupid, but failure is part of success. And any business person, you talk about Adrian Gore, he'll tell you the number of times he's failed and how hard he had to work before actually people became aware of it. And I mean, you mentioned that point, is that you worked for 9 years, and so the Beatles, they worked for 9 years, and all of a sudden here they are, this overnight success. Yeah. Overnight successes have been working for like 10 years to get there. So, I don't know, maybe this is a parting comment which might make sense. Is entrepreneurs at the end of the day, just do it. Don't analyze yourself to death, don't talk yourself to death. There is a time when you've You've got to jump in the water.